Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Neurodiversity Gold Podcast with me, Jude Morrow. And as usual, plugs at the top of the episode. You can stream all your favorite episodes of the Neurodiversity Gold Podcast at our podcast site, neurodiversitygoldpodcast.com. That's neurodiversitygoldpodcast.com. Here today with another brilliant episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we do have a lot of discussion on the Neurodiversity Gold Podcast about workplaces getting into building kind of like ND workforces and everything else. And to be honest, a lot of kind of systems and services sound very much the same. I mean, whenever the neurodiversity market kind of exploded into what it is now, we've seen a lot of these over the years, and it's very, very seldom that we see something that is really kind of different and unique. I mean, of course, everybody thinks they have something unique, but what I think I've come across in today's guest is something that is quite unique, that does have a different kind of flavor, which is very, very welcome. And I can't wait, not only for myself, but for you to hear more about it. And who I have here today from Neurodiversity Works is our very own Jason San Souci. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for coming.
You are so welcome, Jude. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This is exciting.
I'm delighted, as I say, we do have a lot of like requests for guests and stuff like that, and a lot of it is very, very similar. But I mean, I was incredibly intrigued. You know, you have a lovely logo, you have a lovely brand, and if anybody's a sucker for a lovely logo and a lovely brand, it's us, for all the branding work that we do. And I mean, at face value, with neurodiversity works, there's a lot of kind of similar sounding types of things. But I suppose with ND works, I suppose it's time to ask, what do you do?
Yeah, no, that's really great. And so we are a neurodiverse family. My wife her son is neurodiverse, and during the course of really when we were starting to decide this, there was a nexus of like two things that came together. There was our family involvement on her side and everything going on the autism mom side and everything going on, and she's done a lot of nonprofit work. She's also an advertising, like a 20-year advertising career, so she's been doing a lot of things related to that. Me, on the other hand, I've been a remote sensing scientist for the last 20 years. There's really no connection if you don't see it. So I went to a conference and they were saying, look, it was a drone conference. So I've been in the drone industry as a drone scientist for the last 11 years, almost 12 now. Wow. And we need more people. The industry is really starting to take off. Very similar to the neurodiverse industry, like it's taking off. So is the drone industry. So we need people that think differently. Well, pretty easy math. People that diagnose to think differently and people that need people that think differently, put the two worlds together, see what happens. So what we do is we prepare neurodiverse students, and it's not just autism, it's any neurodiversity, even self-diagnosed neurodiversity, for careers in the drone industry. Because we truly believe that sort of the bar is fairly low to get in the industry with mentorship and training and job shadowing and just overall program that's very person-centered. We've just bootstrapped this from our own pockets, and we've gotten a couple of grants so far, and we've been around for about 2.5 years. So we have. Yeah, I mean, we started because there's a need. There's very few career technical education, workforce development programs that focus on this population. So we're like, look, we may not be experts in any of these things besides the science part. Let's put these worlds together and see what happens. And so far, it's been very successful.
Which is lovely to hear, but, and especially kind of in the sector, because truth being told, I mean, with NTI, we get a lot of people that are inquiring to work with us, and a lot of them are workplaces kind of orientated and related, where there's so many that have been set up. And I mean, you're going quite a while now, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of like pop-up satellite ND in the workplace. Because I mean, there's no bullshit with Jude Morrow or on the Neurodiversity Gold podcast. Everybody wants to be a B2B business because businesses tend to have money, depending on where you look or if their branding and kind of marketing is very deceptive. It depends. Everybody wants to be B2B, and in most cases, whenever people say, I want to launch an ND in the workplace kind of thing, I would say to people, well, you're going to need at least a generous marketing budget to kind of get out through the noise because there's so much of it. And you've kicked through that noise relatively well, for 2 years in. So, I mean, as far as results people get for working with neurodiversity works, I mean, what can people expect from working with you?
Jobs. So our end goal is the student. Our end goal is
Mhm.
the student. We sort of build a pod around the family, which includes a mentor. It includes other students. It includes their family. It includes our program. And we just want to set them up for success. So we know that all of our students work differently, and our students are typically in the ages of 15 to 25, really job ready. And we chose 15 as the lower because in the United States, at least, to become a commercial drone pilot by the FAA, you have to be 16. So getting them ready about a year before seemed to make sense. And we've had a few graduates now that we pay for their certification. Our program is completely free to the student and the family. We charge nothing to them. We completely provide all the training. We've developed an online learning management system. You're using Kajabi. I use something else. So I'm familiar with that. I've developed several online courses for my industry. And really, we're just trying to give back. Like, we want this to be a viable option for our students. And really, sort of an aha moment for us was we were doing a demo. We were just flying a drone. We were showcasing sort of the utility space use case, right? Just inspecting utility poles. So we were outside flying the drone. Obviously, it's very interesting. Students get very excited. And one of the students came up fairly nonverbal. And it was in the midst of COVID. So everyone was wearing face masks anyway and face shields. So he grabbed the sticks, started flying. He was a brilliant pilot. Absolutely brilliant. Very efficient, very effective. And he left his turn, and the end though went through the rest of the students. At the end, his mother still gives me goosebumps thinking about it. His mother came up to me crying, and I was like, "Uh-oh, all right, Jason messed up. I must have said something bad or said something wrong." This was sort of our first sort of foray into doing a workshop for neurodiverse students. So I was like, well, I can also be a little crass, so maybe I said something wrong. No. This was the first thing that this particular student has engaged in ever. So she was very thankful that this is actually something that she now has a glimmer of hope that he could potentially support himself in the world. So that is a huge fear that parents have. And like, I see it every day with my wife. I see it and I understand it, because this community is often misunderstood, often now, as you've said, almost commercialized at this point, which is not a good idea. So we want to develop a slightly different program where we want to surround the student with supports. We want to give them the right training, show them the right mentors, shadow them on the right jobs. And oh, by the way, when they're on these jobs, they're making real money.
Yeah.
Real money. Very good real money. Like, we're not talking $15, $20 an hour. We're talking $50, $60, $70 an hour is where we want our students to understand that is what they are worth. It's all about value. We want them to see that they are valued and they are gifts to the world, not the other way around. We do want to see industry pulling them. We do. That would be wonderful. That's really not where we're focused. We're not focused on working with the workplaces. We're focused on working with the students, so they understand that they have value, they understand that they have gifts, and they understand that they have a voice and that they can support themselves in the world and doing something that they really, really like doing. That's cool. That doesn't require them to go off and get a 4-year degree. It doesn't require them to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on anything. I mean, our program, I think by the time they get certified, I think we've invested maybe $300 per student. That's it. $300 a student to get them certified. And then obviously at that point, and that's all us, we provide that, then we get them paid. That's like on the job training, job shadowing, it's all paid. And that's what we're about, because we really, really want to see the students be fulfilled. We want to reduce their level of isolation in the world. We want them to feel part of a community, and we want them to have fun.
And that's just mind-blowingly good to me because again, and I don't know, I didn't really touch on this in the last point, but whenever people want to set up a neurodiversity in the workplace kind of thing, they follow the usual pattern. They partner up with some companies, and then it serves the company more than the individual, where the individuals are sometimes paid a lower wage than other people, and it's really just a big corporate CSR load of nonsense that I can certainly see through, and others are starting to see through that as well. But what I think the reason is, and you've cracked it, because before you came on, obviously we do our stocky kind of looking people up and due diligence and whatever else, and to think, a neurodiversity in the workplace and kind of taken off organically and bootstrapped, especially with the way the commercialization has went. That's the answer because the student is centric rather than the company. Where basically organizations are saying, yeah, we'll do an ND in the workplace thing, but they have to meet our spec rather than who the individuals are, what their talents are, what their passion is, what they love, and then they put it out through all their marketing materials. And I think people are now starting to see through it. Where I think you're very, very ahead of your time, where you're kind of having a student-centric approach, and that they're doing something that they love, and the people that you do have into the program are those who approach and want to do it, rather than those who are being funneled into it, which is completely different, which is absolutely phenomenal. And the fact that it's free as well. So, are you a non-profit? Is this funded?
We are a nonprofit.
So, you be getting like grants and philanthropy and stuff like that to get people through it?
Yeah, and we do have some partners, but the partners that we have thus far, they're not employers at this point. They're more just providing their specific either hardware or software for our students to use and train on. So that's what our partners do currently. And like, for example, next summer, we're setting up a neurodiversity drone camp, the first of its kind in the world, I believe, that focus on the neurodiverse community. And it's a drone camp, a 3-day drone camp where it's basically it's a bit of a boot camp where we really want the students to get a flavor of everything the industry has to offer, because it's not just flying drones. It's also doing doing marketing, doing analytics, software development. It's all of those things. So it's not just, it's every ologist under the sun are using this technology. So I really want them to get a feel for how expansive the industry is and where it touches. And then I want them to get a taste themselves. Let's get hands-on. Let's use the software. Let's fly some drones. Let's do these things, and let's bring in some really dynamic speakers that can talk about their passion within the industry. And you know what? Because it's funny, the other thing that I learned along this journey, as we started to work with more successful neurodiverse adults, is that, I started to realize myself that, I'm a little different. So one of the boards that we sit on, JFK Partners Advisory Board, it's a neurodiverse, essentially it's a program within a hospital, and they just got a brand new neurologist, and we, like I said, this is definitely a little spoiled almost, maybe that's not the right word, but she had an opening that week. And I'm like, look, I'd kind of be interested in maybe getting evaluated. And she said, yeah, sure. You want to come in Wednesday? I'm like, wow, yeah, that sounds wonderful. And because I've sort of been waiting for a couple of years, because I always sort of suspected something was different. But yeah, then I went, and within 90 minutes, yep, official diagnosis. And she went one of two ways. It was interesting. She was like, look, you could just know for you, and that's fine. You can just know for you, or we can make this official and put it as part of your medical record. And I'm like, well, you know what? Let's put it as part of my medical record. This is me. And it gave me a new perspective, not just a deeper connection with the people we're trying to serve, but it kind of changed my life a little bit. Like just understanding, like, wow, why the heck why am I so weird? Like, You know, why? I mean, I had the nickname Kooky in college, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm just a little different. Now I kind of know why. And it's like, wow, okay. So yeah, so like I said, this is a personal journey for me as well. So it's not just our family. Now it's like me. I have skin in the game. We're like, wow, okay. Now I really want to give back at an elevated level to really fight for this community, because I believe that this community, just based on my own personal experience, can contribute significantly to whatever industry that they want to pour themselves into. And the industry, obviously, the alternate problem is the industry needs to be ready for them. Great. We're not addressing that. There's a lot of companies out there addressing that. So we're different. We want to
Yeah.
focus on the student to get them prepared for the industry, but not just prepared. The other thing that's interesting about the drone industry is we have what we call, I guess what I've coined, chucks in a truck. So these folks go to like Best Buy or Costco or something like that, and they buy a drone. The bar to entry, like I said, is fairly low to this industry. It's 60 question multiple choice test. That's it. It's not very hard. And then you get a commercial pilot license to fly drones. You can do it for money at that point. And that's it. That's the only requirement. So we have a lot of those, hundreds of thousands of them all over the world that have minimal to no training, but they are now able to make money. So we're like, look, we want to elevate our students so they have basic training in all of the principles, all of the analytics, all of the hardware, maybe get some certifications along the way, thanks to some of our partners. So they come out heads and shoulders above the competition. So they can demand those higher rates, and they can do more unique things. They don't do the things that are becoming more commoditized. They can do what they want to do, develop their own niche. And that's what we see as exciting in this program, is that they get to develop themselves within this industry, because this industry, at least the drone industry, is largely undefined.
Yeah.
So I want them to help define it for us.
What I just whenever you're saying that about drone pilots, we were making content and it was for a client, right? We'd taken them on to do their kind of social kind of web strategy and stuff, and trying to find a drone pilot. I thought that'll be easy, no problem. Leave it with me, guys. I'll get a drone pilot. And a couple of them were like, "No problem, dude. Yeah, we'll leave that with you. Yeah, no problem, no problem. But yeah, you do that." Could I find one? No. Drone pilots are very, very hard to come by, and it's only something that I knew. So at least now I know where to go or send people to, especially when it comes to like photography, social content. It could be anything, and because with the drone industry, what I kind of learned of it in that time is that there's so much that can be done, like aerial surveying, stuff like that for architecture, even river mapping. There's so much things. I could find a drone pilot for freaking everything that I didn't need at that particular moment in time. But I want to come back to a point that you said, right? I mean, I had started out doing the kind of talking about neurodiversity from the ND perspective. And I mean, I'm not going to be as crass and say I was the first, but certainly among that kind of initial wave, 5, 6 years ago. And what you said happens all the time. Nearly every live show, nearly every, like, even whenever my TED talk went up on YouTube, is people were messaging me saying, "Dude, see what you talked about? I do that. I do that as well." And then they come back to me months later and be like, "Oh, I got a diagnosis myself." So you never know. Like, people could be listening to this and think, "God, see what Jason and Jude are saying? That sounds very like me. That sounds like my home." So I'm gonna go and find out. And people do get that uh validation, uh, which is a really, really great thing. And I suppose for we're coming to the end of 2022 now. Have you any exciting plans for 2023?
Like I said, our plan for 2023 is our Neurodiversity drone camp. We are focused all in on that camp. We have a date, we have a location, we have excitement. I just sat down and started writing out the workshop schedule. It's almost full. I didn't even realize, like, just sort of organically started to fill up. And that is very exciting for us. So we're excited to sort of do this first of its kind neurodiversity drone camp. And it's really, for us, it's about, we want to recruit. Like, that's active. We're doing active recruiting. And that's one thing that we are we are reaching out to partners to get more students into the program, because there's really no barrier to get in. Like, it's like, if you're interested, show up to our workshop. That's what we do. We start with a workshop where who I hate talking to people, clearly, will get the students excited. Like, here's what the industry's doing. Check this out. Look at this. Look at these cool drones over here. Look at what's going on. There's a lot going on, and I want them to get excited. And then from there, then they can enter the program and do some very small. I'm a huge fan of more frequent, smaller steps. I don't want massive jumps, because for some of the students, learning is hard and they learn differently. So they need those smaller, more frequent steps to stay engaged, to stay present, and to stay with the program. So we want them to have sort of end goals, but smaller end goals along the way. So we've been evolving our program. It didn't start like this. Like, we've been doing a lot of guessing, a lot of trying, a lot of just pulling things together. We haven't spent a lot of time in like strategy and committee. We're just like, look, we have an idea. Let's bootstrap it. Let's throw it out there, see what sticks. Whatever's going to fall away is going to fall away. Let's fail fast. And we did. We've had several students that at the very early, when we started, it was too much. It was too much. We tried to do too much too fast. Okay, we'll take a step back. We'll reformulate. We'll use student feedback, and we'll come at it again with a new brand of students. And then that seems to be working a little better, but we want to get better and better over time. And also for 2023, we want to expand. We are currently basically serving students in the Front Range of Colorado. That's essentially where we are. We know that there is a need both on the industry side and in the community to expand. So I believe in 2023, you're going to see Neurodiversity works at least in 7 to 8 states in the United States. That is a huge, big, hairy, audacious goal of us in 2023. To see if we can hit even a few of those states would be transformative for our company, and being able to bring students from different areas. We've already know that there's some areas that we want to target because we've had some initial conversations, but some of them are a little far. The reach is a little far, and we're still a very small nonprofit. And oh, by the way, it's not our day job. Like, we do a lot of other things. Like, I have my own podcast. I'm a chief architect of a drone company, is my actual day job. So this is a passion project. This is truly a passion project that we want to make time for. Luckily, here's some interesting news in 2022, in the end of 2022. My wife was a publisher at a magazine. That was her previous position. She just transferred to full-time working on this nonprofit. That's huge. That is huge for us. So in 2022, that's what happened for us. In 2023, we want to expand, we want to evolve, and we want to bring in more of the community so that we can have more impact.
Yeah, and you know what? To be honest, like, whenever people come through the NTI door, which is many, right? To be honest with us, and I get the vibe that you're somewhat similar, is that, believe it or not, for us, about 95% of people that come through our door, we do turn them away. Because, and it's a couple of reasons. Like, number one, it's dead startup. We don't know if there's a market for what they're doing. We don't know if it's validated in any way. There's various different factors. And even for us as a team, if we don't really feel passionate about it or feel that there's a need for it, we don't. Whereas, as I'm sitting talking to you, I'm like, there is literally like 50 different things that can be done with this. It could be online courses, it could be memberships, it could be merchandise, wink, 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 merchandise would be the way to do it. And it can be droned, and there's taglines and everything, and sponsorship, and getting into other states. I mean, that's an absolute must, because we have a couple now that have branched into the states next door. Again, because we have, like, we call them BHAGs, big hairy audacious goals, and branching into other states and making it larger. I mean, because what you're in essence doing is increasing your customer base and your revenue base. I mean, like, why wouldn't you do that?
Exactly. Yeah, we want this to have impact for many more families. We know this isn't for everyone, and we acknowledge that it's not for everyone, and that's okay. But for those that it is a passion for, or there is a spark of interest, and it does gravitate towards their areas of interest and concentration, I think this could be transformative and life changing, and we feed off of that. Like that is our morning I haven't even had my coffee yet. That is my morning coffee. Like that is what gets me out of bed. Having
Yeah.
those stories, hearing, seeing and feeling the impact, where it's not just bullshit. Like it's real. Like
Yeah.
it's real to these people that they now have hope. They now have goals. They now, I mean, like it's because we don't want them to be like doorknob polishers at a grocery store. We believe that there's true value there. There really is. Just got to be able to understand the community a little bit better. And then, like I said, we're partnering for success. In 2023, we want to do more partnering with those neurodiversity in the workplace programs so that they know we're here. Like
Yeah.
we're preparing a workforce for you. You have to prepare your workplace for them. It has to be bi-directional. And we understand that. We're not trying to do all of it. I want to eat my own dog food and say, look, we can only affect what we can touch. We don't work in all of those workplaces. That's not what we want to do. We don't want to go give seminars on neurodiversity so that they have a checkbox next to their, corporate social responsibility board. And that they've, yeah, we have a, DEI statement. Like we're on DEI committees. Like we believe in DEI. And it's really funny. It's fun to be on a DEI committee as a middle-aged white man.
I feel the same.
What are you doing here? I was like, look, you're all forgetting about another diversity that is pretty large. And oh, by the way, ridiculously underrepresented and underemployed. The
Yeah.
neurodiverse community. And most of them say what you said. What is neurodiversity? That is literally what we are offering to the world is like, look, we could tell you what neurodiversity is, but let's show you in a specific industry. Let me show you what this is about. That's what we want to do. That's our take. That's our spin. We don't want to just death by PowerPoint and showcase, this is what's going on. Like, no, you know what? Let's get out in the field. Let me show you what neurodiversity is. Let me show you what this looks like. Let me show you that these accommodations that you may think that are crazy, they're not. These are simple things. It's just about being kind and being, considerate. Like this is not crazy rocket science. Like this is pretty easy stuff. And there's a lot of people out there that are experts in that. And maybe some people that are not so experts in that. They're just riding the wave.
Yeah.
We want to work with them because those are the people that are actually making an impact with the employers, that are doing real things, that are not developing a cattle call of neurodiversity into a specific thing. We don't want to do that. We really want the array of opportunities open to our students so that they can understand that they're not just going to go do one thing. They can do this today. That's the other thing I really like. I was just in California doing a project, and I was with someone that admitted to me, because he knew the program, that diagnosed with ADHD, actually takes medication, and was worried that disclosing that to the employer was going to be an issue. And I was like, look, it's not. I've done my research. As long as you meet these 5 things within this particular, advisory circular, you're fine. He's like, wow, that's really helpful. And that's the thing that I want to keep having that conversation, because it's like, look, it looks different. Neurodiversity is different for everyone. And everyone has their own unique struggles, their own unique tics, their own unique everything. And I want them to understand that there's a place for them. Like they can do this one day. They could do fly a drone one day. They could do social media marketing the next day. They could do program management the next day. They could do analytics the next day. And that's 1 week. Even within 1 day, they can do different things. That's what I want them to understand. So for the community that wants to have that variety potentially, or just want to do one thing, it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
And I want them to know that.
And the most important point, and because whenever we talk to nonprofits, whenever we invite nonprofits to a call with us that want to work with us, we say to them, who's this for? See, the people that say it's not for everybody, they're the ones I jive with, because people that say this is for everyone, and as I say, and I'll say it out open in the airways, a project for everyone is also a project for no one, because
Yeah.
it has to speak to the people you want to have impact with. Like these organizations that say we are for the ND community all around the world. right? The ones that say we are for the ND drone lovers in a specific state or surrounding states. They're the ones that speak to a particular audience and a particular demographic who are experiencing a very similar issue. And I mean, they work that. I mean, the kind of having like a small kind of regionalized model because I mean, my favorite type of business is the kind of mom and pop shops. I love those. They're the ones that, through our books, have always done the best. The ones that say we want to invade the entire planet and become this, this global, all singing, all dancing, fireworks advertising space at the Super Bowl commercial break. I mean, they're the ones, in our view, never take off. We've never seen them take off, or they take off briefly for maybe a year or two, but then after that time, they just get their ass handed to them, and it just doesn't really work. But I suppose my last question is because you know what, I could talk to you all fucking day. Is what are your .coms? How can people get in touch with you?
Oh, absolutely. So we have two, and one is www.neurodiversityworks.org. And we also have www.dronecampco, so dronecampco for Colorado.org. So we have two of those. And obviously they could reach out to look me up on LinkedIn. I'm the autistic drone scientist on LinkedIn. You can look me up there, Jason San Souci. So yeah, I want people to connect that want to connect, that want to mentor, that want to support us either philanthropically or getting the message out or however. Like a rising tide lifts all ships is truly what we believe, and we want to see that. But we want to work with the right people. Like that's important for us. We got to work with the right people, and we've already seen that some are not necessarily the right people, or they're not the right people for us yet. So yeah, we want that, and we're obviously always enrolling students. That's definitely something that we want to do. So if they're in the Front Range of Colorado today in 2022 and they're interested in drones at all, or any sort of analytic related to drones or remote sensing or GIS or artificial intelligence, and there's a spark there potentially, reach out. You never know.
Absolutely. And you know what? I've absolutely loved this chat. Absolutely fantastic. So reach out, neurodiversityworks.org. And I've been Jude Morrow. Jason Sansucci has been absolutely fantastic, and we will be following your journey with love and interest in anything we can do. Our door is always open. The NTI door is eternally open to you now. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and I will catch you all next week again for another episode of the Neurodiversity Gold Podcast.